Okay, now we're here to talk about environmental change. Environmental change has to do with more than just the change of the temperature of the planet, okay?
Yep.
It has to do with everything. How they grow your food has changed now. We talked about all that, remember?
Yeah.
What I'm going to show you is a couple things that Mr. Gary does. Mr. Gary, everywhere he goes, he carries a plastic bag around in his pocket everywhere he goes.
Wow.
Because when I go walking on the beach, or I go hiking in the hills, or I go walking through the park, I make it cleaner than before I arrive. Everywhere I go.
Woo! Yeah!
I also carry this bottle around, which will last me for years. If I was at your house, any one of your house, and you offered me, or your mom or dad offered me a bottle of water, I would say no. I do not accept plastic bottles of water from anybody. I fill this up everywhere I go. I take this empty in the airport. They let you take them empty in the airport, and I fill it up in the airport restaurants, and I go on the plane with it, so I don't have to get a bottle from the flight attendant. When I land in another country, I don't have to grab a bottle. Everywhere I go in the world, I don't grab bottles. I also bring my own to-go containers to restaurants. I leave them in the car, but I bring them in if I have leftover food. Sometimes I'll order food for here, knowing I'm going to take it to go, so I don't leave a bunch of styrofoam, plastic bags, napkins, plastic forks, and all that stuff. So, could you imagine if every single day, if every human on the planet did this every day? In one day, it would be cleaner. In one day. This right here is full of bags. I have 3 of these. Some of these are older than you. These bags are older than you. Yeah, older than you. I've always kind of been like that. I'll be at a Super Bowl party, like this weekend there's a Super Bowl party. I see them emptying the bags out on the table, I'll grab the bags and take them with me because I know they're going in the trash. Because did you know that when sea animals eat them, like turtles and stuff like that, they die?
Yeah.
So Mr. Gary's always thinking about that. This is so important to Mr. Gary that I'm going to explain something to you. You know how I wear this shirt every day?
Yeah.
Because I copyrighted this sentence, I own it. I bought it. On the count of 3, everybody say it. 1, 2, 3.
Consume as little as possible.
If every single human being on Earth did this today, the planet would get cleaner by tomorrow. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
We live on a planet where looking pretty, wearing diamonds and gold and stuff like that is important to a lot of people. To get 1 carat of diamond, they have to move 1,750 tons of earthen ore. That's only the earthen ore. That doesn't count going in, displacing the Aboriginal people, or known as Indians or natives, making them move off the land, cutting down all the trees, killing all the animals, drilling for oil to run the machinery, to pollute the air, to dig this hole. So, to poison the water, to poison the air, and so to get 1 carat, not only do you have to move 1,750 tons of earthen ore, you have to drill for oil and all that. And it's all to get something shiny on our bodies to look pretty. Now, the only thing of value on the surface of that planet is those plants. Not to mention the humans and the animals. But those plants have nutrition and medicine in it, and they provide oxygen. So as we want to look shiny and pretty, we're making ourselves sick and we're killing this planet. We have this primitive drive to want shiny stuff, and we're driven towards shiny stuff, and the drive is so powerful that there's something known as being too successful. It's the same way that mankind was able to figure out how to kill the mammoth and run them off cliffs, what made them extinct. What we did to the bison on this continent is what we're doing to ourselves now, because we are so successful at destroying things and consuming them. That's where we're at. And this planet is going to be left to you children to take care of and live on with that kind of mentality.
No, thank you.
Yeah, and it's up to you to change. Now imagine if the consciousness of the whole planet was this, to just take as little as possible, consume as little as possible, and everybody thought that way.
I love it.
We'd live on the Garden of Eden because the plants would be growing everywhere. Because what's the most valuable stuff on Earth?
Poop and soil.
More valuable than what?
Diamonds and gold.
And it truly is, because guess what? You can't eat diamonds and gold.
It's just gonna make it worse. Cause it's gonna cut open your esophagus. Why would you eat it?
Oh yeah, if you ate it, yeah, exactly. Good, I like that. Now, because you can't get nutrition from diamonds and gold.
Diamonds and gold won't do anything because without the poop and so I wouldn't have life to look at the diamonds.
To even stare at it.
Yeah.
To even be alive. We could dance and sing and live on this planet with all kinds of vegetation and healthy food and medicine and breathe beautiful oxygen that they provide for us without any money, diamonds, or gold, really.
That'd be awesome.
Actually, it probably would be. And so now the mentality that we're transferring over to you is you guys living on this planet that have to live on this planet like this is, imagine if it became really cool to consume as little as possible. That was what was cool. Like, that was the cool people, instead of wearing diamonds and gold and all that stuff and being all shiny and pretty and consuming a bunch of stuff, right?
If that was cool, everyone would be doing that.
Exactly. People care what people think about them a lot of times. And if it was cool to be a person that consumed less on this planet and it became the consciousness of the globe, we would have a cleaner place to live.
And everyone would be good.
And everybody grabs these bottles off of the shelf and everywhere, stuff like that, when they get bottled water. Why do they do that? For convenience, right? Now, how convenient is that in the long run to poison this place for your children and grandchildren to live on, but have to live in it? And Miss Christina said in a class recently, as she said by like 2030 or something, there's going to be more tons of plastic in the ocean than there is fish.
Honestly, I think the world will be gone by 2030. I think we're so bad at this. I think we're so good at consuming and being terrible people that the world would be either gone by 2030 or 2035 or 2040.
Hey, you know what, Abigail? You never know. But I believe it's recoverable because it could clean up very fast if we just stop consuming water. Bottled water, which is just filtered water that they filter from the tap, that they actually sell you at 2,000% more profit. They saw there was money to be made, so all these humans said, there's money to be made. Let's put it in plastic bottles and sell it to these people because they will buy it.
Some of us have written letters to the president and Nestle demanding that they stop taking water out of our national parks and selling it back to us in plastic bottles.
Yes, there's a good documentary called Blue Gold. It's completely, and it's only because people are, maybe you might say, dumb enough to buy it.
Yeah.
Okay, now the true way to vote is with your dollar. You don't want them to make bottled water? Stop buying it. They'll stop making it because they'll have to. There won't be no money in it. That's why I bought this sentence. And I made sure to own this sentence because I know that I vote with my dollar. Mr. Gary got the orange juice in here from an orange tree in Venice. One year they had me come here and walk the students around the campus and show them all the weeds they could eat. Because Mr. Gary lives kind of off the wild, but in the city. I have wild beehives all over the city. A lot of people don't know that you take those pine trees, you chop up the pine needles, and you steep them in hot water. There's more vitamin C than orange juice. I harvest the pollen every springtime off those trees. I use it as a flour substitute in my pancakes because it's a superfood. Anti-inflammatory, anti-tumor, anti-arthritic. It's like a super good food. I live off that pine tree. So one way to educate yourself when it comes to disasters and environmental change, like Miss Ayana was talking about, is to learn these wild plants that you're surrounded by in the hills and in the city, and also learn how to grow your own. Because environmental change just doesn't come in the form of the changing of the temperature of the planet. It's how your food is grown and how your animals are raised that you eat. That's environmental change too, what you stick in your mouth. You understand me? I like to try to live off wild vegetables or vegetables grown in a garden because you know how they have purebred dogs and they have Dobermans and they have Chihuahuas? Well, a lot of times the purebreds have problems because they actually come from a wolf, which is wild and can actually survive in the wild and very strong. So
That's why I like wolves better than dogs.
well, yeah, now look. So now look, I learn all the weeds I can eat out in the wild because they're truly way more nutritious. That's the wolf of the vegetable world, if you think about it. Not messed with by man, not bred to just look green and pretty and big, which is, like I told you guys before, in 1914, spinach was 30 times more nutritious than it is in 1992. So it's being bred to grow for money and profit, the same way the water's being stuck in bottles for profit. You are being sold a bunch of stuff for people that want to just make money. They're not necessarily bad people, they just want to get rich, and if people are going to spend the money, they're going to do it. So you guys want to control that? Don't spend your money. Environmental change, this is the best way to impact it.
You guys have to teach your parents too because they're kind of like me, part of the older generation. You have to learn this stuff.
Yes.
You're the environmental leaders of the future. That's
Yes.
why you're here and what you're learning.
And this is an environmental magnet school. The reason I'm here as a teacher is because I'm an environmentalist. I came here, and I don't know if some of you were here, I taught bees for free a few times right here in this garden. After they saw me teach, they asked me to teach all the time. An environmental school, because I'm an environmentalist. So this is what I do with my life. I catch water off my roof. I have wild beehives all over. I eat off the land. I don't take plastic bottles from anywhere. I carry bags in my pocket. I take to-go containers to restaurants. Everywhere I walk, I'm conscious of taking less from the planet. Because to me, that is what cool is.
And it is cool.
Thank you, Abigail.
Some of us watched it.
Now, on the count of 3, say this again. 1, 2, 3.
Consume as little as possible.
Done by every human being on Earth today, the planet will be cleaner by tomorrow. Okay? We're talking about environmental change here. See how much of your food goes in the trash here?
Yeah.
Did you know there's a whole kindergarten ones too that get filled up over there? Every day this school wastes enough to feed villages. 4 reasons to grow your own food. 1 is because it doesn't come in packages made of plastic and paper and gasoline that gets it to your shelf because they have to drive it there. No insecticides and pesticides on it. Also, you don't spend money and finance the war machine that pays to, your taxes go to kill more people in other countries so we could have more stuff. Just educate yourself and have this knowledge that most people around you don't have. It's a higher level of awareness. You understand? So the more we consume, that we pay for things, the more we're financing our our demise, which means death. You know what I mean? Like our poisoning, because more plastic. We go buy. Tell your parents they buy cases of bottled water. They buy cases of bottled water. They're basically financing more toxification of the earth. You want to buy some diamonds and gold? You're basically paying. I don't know if you know what's being done to the rainforest over in the Amazon area, but for for gold and for leather. But for gold, they're just destroying the earth because of this thing that mankind has called the gold standard, which is just a primitive drive to like shiny things. And the beautiful thing that I like that I just came up with right now mentally, talking to you, like you guys aren't the age to vote, are you? Well, but guess what? When I think about it, you actually are. How you spend your money. You actually vote. You can talk to your parents. You can just not buy things yourself. You actually are a voting age, meaning you have input on what you consume. And you actually can tell your parents. They will listen to you. You're going to educate your parents. One more time on the count of 3, say this sentence. 1, 2, 3. That's right. So, imagine if it became really cool to consume as little as possible. That was what was cool. Like that was the cool people. Instead of wearing diamonds and gold and all that stuff, and being all shiny and pretty and consuming a bunch of stuff, right?
If that was cool, everyone would be doing that.
Exactly. People care what people think about them a lot of times. And if